was a very close match against another Abzan mid-range deck, so this should be interesting.
Daniel Mckelvey, he is on your right-hand side. He's playing Abzan mid-range as well. Deck with a lot of room for customization, but you see a lot of the same cards here. For Maz, the addition in Daniel's list that we haven't seen that much of this weekend.
Right. You know, the previous version I did watch last round had a Johnny's Pride Mate and a lot of the new lands that come into play tapped and gain a life to help boost that, and was relying much more on that as his 2-drop as opposed to Fleece main line out of Daniel Mckelvey's deck. Mckelvey's, excuse me.
So Daniel going to lead off with a tri-land here. Kevin with just a mountain, and Daniel going to start off the second turn of the game here with a Thoughtseize, revealing a Battlefield Forge, a Shivan Oasis, Magma Jet, a Banishing Light, a Mantis Rider, and Sarkin.
Yeah, it looks like Daniel actually has a reasonable amount of removal in his deck for, you know, the Mantis Riders and the Sarkins. So, but he wants to take a little bit of pressure off his removal spells with his Thoughtseizes. So it's likely he doesn't really care that much about either the Banish Light or the Magma Jet, and just wants to have a tempo play right here with like taking the Mantis Rider, and then that'll allow him to start playing his creatures on turns 3, 4, and 5, which will ultimately let him hold up mana on his, you know, passing on turn 5 to Abzan Charm the Sarkin if he has it.
Yeah, the critical thing in these matchups from what I watched today feels like being the one who gets out in front on the board and then getting to untap. You have so much flexibility from that spot. And as you mentioned, Daniel, they're going ahead and selecting the Mantis Rider.
I think he forgot to play a land, or he just didn't have another land.
It looks like he has an Urborg, so perhaps.
Yeah, because his land in play came into play tapped, I believe. So I think he did the classic land comes into play tapped. You play your spell before your land. You forget to play your land. It actually happens a lot more than you would think.
Oh, trust me. You don't have to tell me about it. But
I watched Drew Levin do it once in a Grand Prix, and he got really mad at me because he said I distracted him by asking him a question mid Thoughtseize. I think it actually was a Thoughtseize too, which is kind of funny.
Excuses. But Daniel with the second turn, Temple of Silence here. Kevin going to fire off this Magma Jet at the end of the turn, looking for some help.
Yeah, it is important to note this actually is technically Daniel's turn 3, if I'm not mistaken. I do believe that's the Sandstep Citadel. So he did just miss a land drop on turn 2, which is, I mean, it's going to be very costly against Kevin Jones's tempo-based deck. This Magma Jet deals a few points of damage, which add up in the long run too, especially with the Thoughtseizes from Daniel's deck. But what they help him do is dig for threats that actually can put pressure on him in the meanwhile.
And in fact, Kevin left another copy of Magma Jet on top of his deck, so he's definitely on board with trying to smooth out his draw that way.
Yeah, Daniel here having a lot of lands that come into play tap, just giving Kevin a lot of time, not really adding any pressure to the board or doing a whole lot of anything other than playing lands.
Neither player really up to much right now. We'll see if Daniel's able to play a Siege Rhino next turn on time, but for the time being, Kevin with just another Magma Jet at the end of the turn fixes the draw a little bit further.
I believe you should call Dr. Siegeman Rhinoceros by his proper name.
PhD?
Yeah. Me and Brian have been playing with that guy a lot in our Versus videos, and that is our dubbed nickname for him.
I'm sure the degrees of inbred nicknames have just no end here, as there is the fourth land and the Dr.
The Doctor. Just call him the Doctor. That's fine. He's like the fifth Doctor because he has 5 toughness, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't really watch Doctor Who.
Oh, Doctor Who.
Yeah, it was a bad joke.
Never mind. It's lost on me. Banishing Light to take care of the Rhino.
That's going to deal Kevin a point of damage from his land. And Daniel here looking to follow that up with some more threats. He may actually just want to hold up for Abzan Charm here. Otherwise, he might just get punished by this Sarkin from Kevin. So
I think Daniel does have a Courser Crufix in hand. We'll see if he wants to deploy it this turn. But it appears that he is just playing a 5th land, passing the turn.
I think that's smart. He wants to, like, he can safely play the Courser next turn and, you know, protect himself from the Sarkin. But it looks like Kevin actually has a pretty saucy hand. It looks like 2 Sarkins and a Goblin Rabblemaster. So if Daniel doesn't have double charm, he might just get beat down by Sarkin in a few minutes here.
So we'll see the Rabblemaster here from Kevin, token generated. And we'll see if Daniel has some sort of response here. Oh boy.
Wow.
It is quite the response. An utter
I think that will utterly end this game in just a few short turns.
On the Banishing Light, unlocking the Siege Rhino. That's another trigger. Eats the token, and now
Dr. Siegeman, showing him how it's done.
And now we see why Daniel did not play the Courser last turn and got paid off no matter what, but especially because a Goblin Rabblemaster was Kevin's play last turn.
Yeah. Interesting to note here, Daniel actually doesn't have to take a damage from his Windswept Teeth to tap it for mana thanks to his Urborg that's in play. And, you know, in matchups against things like Jeskai Tempo, where they have a bunch of burn spells, a bunch of tempo-based creatures and haste creatures, it's actually great to have your lands not have to deal you damage. Like, your Pain lands getting turned off so they don't deal you damage, your Fetch lands being able to tap for mana without pinging you, it's fantastic. And here it looks like he's probably just going to do that to the Sarkhan and then just, ooh. That's a nifty play. I don't mind that.
And in the last round that we watched Kevin on camera, the mana base definitely doomed his opponent. You know, Kevin's opponent had all the tools to win the games, but the damage from the lands just added up.
Yeah, I mean, so many mana confluences and pain lands, it's just going to add up over time. It looked like he drew, in the last round, at least 2 mana confluences each game that I watched. I may have missed game 2, though. But.
So Sarkhan, the play here from Kevin, attempting to minus to take care of the Corsair Crewfix.
Oh, we're about to have a blowout party. We're going to put a counter on the Siege Rhino and a counter on the Corsair Crewfix. We're going to eat that Goblin token, and then we're going to smash back for 8 points of damage, 5 of which trample.
So as if last turn wasn't bad enough.
Oh, and a Hero's Downfall on top. That's fine. It's not so bad.
So you see there are the 2 tokens distributed, one on the Siege Rhino, one on the Corsair.
It says a lot about the card Travel Preparation when, you know, half of it is a third of a charm.
Yeah.
This, you know, the comment from way back in Innistrad.
Also one color instead, I guess 2 colors, sort of.
Yeah. Oh. Another Absent Charm on top. That's going to be strong, too. He can't quite kill him this turn. He's going to be 1 point short, but that will turn off the white mana source from Kevin, so he won't be able to play a white mana spell for likely the rest of the game.
So we'll see if Daniel wants to go and make any attacks of Sarkhan here. I predict he's just going to go at Kevin, trying to finish this game off. Especially at a very healthy 16 life.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, I mean, it's definitely a strong play to attack for 8 here and put him to 1. You know, Kevin's mana base does him a lot of damage. He has to basically peel a regular Plains to be able to cast a white spell. I know he has another Sarkhan in hand, so it's not like he doesn't have stuff to do. But it even turns off Flooded Strand, which is pretty important. But looks like he's opting instead to off the Sarkhan, get rid of that guy, just in case things go wrong. I don't hate it, but at the same time, I like being aggressive.
Sure. So Daniel there knocking Kevin down to the floor with the Siege Rhino. The Corsair taking care of Sarkhan. And now Kevin untaps and draws. Hand of Sarkhan, Lightning Strike, Temple of Epiphany, which he puts into play. See what he wants to do with the Scry here. But I don't think he's going to get to draw whatever this card is.
Yeah, I was going to say, from the look of the hand, I'm pretty sure he can't survive the Siege Rhino, but especially considering that Hero's Downfall in hand, so.
And Kevin nowhere near being able to kill Daniel. But might as well give it the old country try, you know? No harm done.
Country try? I think it's college try. Come on, buddy.
It's a country try.
It's a country. It doesn't even make any sense. I'm sorry. I don't mean to call you out on that.
And there's a concession.
Yeah. As we expected, the Siege, Dr. Siegeman Rhinoceros MD, a little too powerful for Kevin Jones to overcome, especially the Utter End on the Banishing Light. That's why you don't play Banishing Light, man. It just gets blown up by a bunch of different stuff. I've seen people playing Court of Calling, main deck Reclamation Sage and stuff. Like, it's just a dangerous card to play.
You can never be too certain. So moving on to the sideboard here, we'll take a look at Kevin's sideboard here. He has 3 copies of Disdainful Stroke, 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 Negate, 2 Ash Cloud Phoenix, 2 Magma Spray, a Keranos, a Narset Enlightened Master, a Temple of Enlightenment, and another copy of Sarkhan to go along with this 2 in the main deck. What do you like in this matchup?
I mean, personally, I like just being aggressive, so anything that can help him with that. Like, he doesn't really have a whole lot of great removal spells that can really help him. The Ash Cloud Fantasies don't feel great out of the sideboard because so much of Daniel's removal exiles instead of just destroying. Downfall being the key outlier there. The Disdainful Strokes might be pretty good because of Dr. Siegeman, but other than that, I mean, it doesn't look like he has a whole lot of options. I actually like Daniel's sideboard a lot better, and we'll talk about that right now, because he has access to another copy of Utter End, 2 copies of Murderous Cut, both of which are fantastic against Mantis Rider and Goblin Rabble Master. And, you know, if he wants to get on the beatdown plan, he also has a couple copies of Anafinza, the Foremost, that he can put into play on turn 3 and just start getting his 4/4 beats on against the Mantis Riders and the Rabbles.
It feels like both decks, you know, the Abzan deck definitely a little bit more controlling in the matchup, but it feels like it's important for both players to be aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, both sides can play either role, but I think that Daniel's deck can actually play the control role much better than Kevin's, simply because the removal spells from Daniel actually can kill everything, whereas the burn-style removal spells out of Kevin's deck, you know, don't necessarily kill things like the Siege Rhino and things like that. So while both can play either role, it's much more difficult for Kevin to play the control role, so he's going to probably have to take the initiative and just start to try the beatdowns with you know, Mantis Riders and Rabble Masters, and hope that Daniel doesn't have, you know, a whole lot to put in his way or removal spells.
Or that potentially his mana base is also a factor in all of this, which it, you know, commonly is with these Abzan decks, though Daniel's looked pretty smooth that game, all told. So, just a friendly reminder to all of you out there, I'm sure you will be in the house, I'll be in the house. Couple thousand people probably in the house. Grand Prix Orlando coming next week, and if you're enjoying watching this Cons of Tarkir Standard Tournament, keep in mind we're going to have a whole sealed event October 3rd through 5th. We have so many things planned. I just hope that you go over to MagicGP.com for more information. Pre-register now. We've got a whole lot planned. Friday night, everything will get started with the CVM versus BBD, basically sealed tutorial, which will be really fun.
Yeah.
I have found out that I am broadcasting this, I guess, so I will be also hanging out and taking part of this.
That's going to be a little strange, I'm sure, because, well, we actually tried doing commentary on top of our Versus videos before, but the problem was that we didn't really have the setup so that we could do live commentary over the match without just literally giving away everything that they were doing.
Yeah, you can't.
We couldn't separate rooms from them.
You can't say, I'm going to totally bluff Brad here when Brad's sitting a foot away from you and can hear you.
Right, right. And, but, you know, it'll be cool to watch commentary on the Versus between them. That's going to be sweet.
And sealed formats, especially 3-color ones, can be very complicated with the way that you build your decks.
Yep.
And sometimes your pools allow you to build 4 and even 5-color decks. All this means that you're going to want to watch these two Friday night. If you can't be in the building, we're going to be hosting it on SCG Live starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in and get your foot in the door and understanding what this format's all about, because it's going to be really complicated building sealed decks.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're not even going to play in the main event at GP Orlando, watching this could help you in future, like Friday Night Magics, where you do like your sealed deck tournaments. You know, like there's the sealed PTQ season coming up, or actually it's already started, I believe. And, you know, you can really learn a lot about it. So
heading back to the match, I'm very excited for this tournament. Should be a lot of fun.
Yep. Back for game 2 here between Kevin Jones and Daniel Mckelvey. Daniel up a game thanks to Utter End on Banishing Light, which was locking down his Dr. Siegeman Rhinoceros, a.k.a. Siege Rhino.
Very impressive card.
I'm just going to call him Siege Rhino. I don't want to confuse people just tuning in, so I feel like that's...
Well, it would be hard. It would be hard to get it wrong, even if the nickname is a little convoluted.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even...
He said Dr. Siegeman Rhinoceros. I just assumed he was talking about Corsair Crewfix.
Yeah.
No one at home is really making that mistake, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, me and BBD got all these inside jokes, and it's hard for me to turn it off.
Oh, trust me, when I was playing locally, you know, with the Target guys back in the day, when we were playing, drafting all the time, playing Standard and going to PTQs and stuff, we had inbred nicknames and inbred nicknames and inbred nicknames. And then I was... cohabitating with Tim Ayton for a while, so the inbred nicknames.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I've read a Tim Ayton article or two.
Bramble Elemental from Ravnica, the original Ravnica, was colloquialized to Antoine Bramble L, and then eventually was just Antoine. So these sort of things just kind of happen.
There's actually a deli near where I live called Brambleton Deli. And so now, whenever they have the flashback drafts on Magic Online, I just call them Brambleton Deli Mental. So,
looks like Daniel's going to
got our things
for sure. Looks like Daniel's going to get on the board first here with the turn 2 Fleece main line off of Forest and a Corsair Mana Confluence. Excuse me. Kevin on the third turn going to break his Flooded Strand here. Finds a basic Plains, tapping 3, and I believe we will see a Mantis Rider momentarily.
I actually think that of all the decks that gained fetch lands for this format, or at least what I've seen so far, Flooded Strand fits this deck perfectly, just perfectly. And that's not necessarily the case for a lot of the other decks in the format, other than maybe Windswept Teeth. Like, I think Windswept Teeth is a close second, but I haven't felt like Polluted Delta's really found a great home yet. Bloodstained Mire the same way. And what's the last one? The one that no one cares about?
Wooded Foothills.
That one.
Excuse you.
No one cares about Wooded Foothills. Get out of here. No one wants you.
So, Daniel continuing with his really solid curve so far with the Corsair crew fix.
And I think Flooded Strand really actually brings Kevin Jones's mana base together. And all these Jeskai, tempo, mid-range type decks, they get to play these very heavy red mana bases with Goblin Rabblemaster, Stoke the Flames, burn spells like Lightning Strike, and then Flooded Strand just ties it all together by letting you get the planes out of your deck. Or sometimes, in a pinch, you can get an island if you are drawing a bunch of, white and red lands, which doesn't really seem possible in this deck, actually.
Yeah, you have your double red spells, and you need a lot of red mana, and you need red mana early, but you also need blue and white on turn 3. That's demanding a lot, and being able to play a lot of red dual lands and Flooded Strand, like Kevin's doing right now, really allows you to have all this mana reliably, even though it's not that easy.
Yeah, so Kevin here contemplating using Stoke the Flames with the Goblin before combat. He is doing that. It looked like he was going to attack with it, but he's convoking it instead. Looks like he's probably going to take down Corsair to prevent the life gain from Daniel, as well as maybe stifling him on hitting his land drops over the next few turns.
So, no attack there from Kevin. Passes back to Daniel, who draws the Fleece main line we all know about.
Yeah, and Daniel's hand, it looks pretty stacked. He has a lot to do over the next few turns. Looks like he's even got a tap land coming to play this turn, a Scry land, so he can maybe put the top card away, but Abzan Charm, pretty good in this matchup, I think. So it looks like he's probably going to keep that right there.
Find out momentarily if he has the 4th land. I believe it's a Temple of Silence.
Yeah. I wish I could get a peek at Kevin Jones's hand. He keeps it face down a lot. I don't like it when people do that.
We want to know.
I know. You got to be a little courteous to the dudes doing commentary,
Yeah.
Come on,
Talk
buddy.
to him about it.
Yeah. Jesse, go talk to him about it. He's on it.
And so Kevin takes a draw here. Looks like his hand is a Steam Augury, a Sarkin,
oh, man.
a 5th land that does not come into play, untapped.
Me and him had a discussion a couple hours ago about that Steam Augury, and the first time I watched him cast it, he got like a land and a Lightning Strike off of it, and I told him, what does he think he's doing with his life? Like, is that what you're in the business for? You're going to spend 4 mana, draw a land, and a burn spell?
I think we're going to probably see exactly that at Daniel's end step, but we'll see momentarily.
I'm sure. There might be some tricky stuff going on here with that Goblin Rabblemaster. But now since it is 4 power, maybe he's just trying to bait a trade-off here with the Corsair. But it looks like a pretty safe block for Daniel either way. Like, he's going to be trading off one of his creatures if he wants to take care of the Rabble, but I don't think he can really afford to take that damage. It starts to add up when you start casting Sarkins and things, but looks like he opts to just take all of it.
Yeah, I mean, he's representing a very strong hand if he's willing to race here, so we'll see.
Yeah, I would not be afraid of, 2 damage spells here from Kevin, so I think it was probably safe. Like, if you're going to fear a Lightning Strike or something like that on your Corsair, then blocking with Fleece Mane's fine, right?
The Fleece Mane on a token is a free block if you're worried about a 3 damage
Exactly, so he either should block both of them or just block with Fleece Mane, I think. But he's trying to, keep his board presence reasonably high for Sorin so he can gain a bunch of life. But I don't know. I don't mind the play. Like, you're trying to keep your guys alive, but at the same time, you have to figure out what you're actually trying to play around. And Lightning Strike was the card I think he was trying to play around, but he missed the block with the Fleece Man.
Although Kevin has shown Magmajet in the previous game, so maybe he's worried about 2 damage spells as well.
You're right. I forgot about the Magmajet. That's my fault.
So Sorin Solemn Visitor here from Daniel. Looks like he's just plussing.
What's he doing? What's he doing in this plane? He's just visiting?
Just hanging out. And now, time for some steam.
Come on, buddy.
A Steam Augury, reverse Factor Fiction.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that card's pretty good when your opponent is not attacking you and not blocking.
Yeah. So we'll see here. So this is...
Oh, here's my prediction come true. He's going to get a land and the worst spell. Or 2 lands and the worst spell.
So this is, for those of you who never played with Factor Fiction, Steam Augury is like that in reverse. Kevin flips over the top 5. He gets to split the piles.
Narset? Wow.
And then Daniel gets to decide what he gets. So we're looking at 2 lands and then Narset versus a Temple of Epiphany and a Stoke the Flames.
Narset is a spicy one. I'm not going to lie.
Also pretty good against an opponent who's not attacking and not blocking.
Yes. I think he's going to be blocking now. Now that he's got Soren's +1 online, you know, he's going to be playing defense and trying to gain a bunch of life. And unfortunately for Kevin, he kind of has to block, or he kind of has to attack with the Goblin Rattlemaster. So he gets that Stoke the Flames, and he's probably just going to kill one of the creatures before combat and then send everything at Soren in a desperate hope to kill it. But that's going to let Daniel eat the Rattlemaster, gain a bunch of life, and then keep the Soren in play for at least one more turn.
We'll see. Kevin also has the option of deploying Sarkhan this turn and using that to go after the Planeswalker and using his tokens to try to finish off Soren. So a lot of options afforded to Kevin this turn.
That's actually a much better play. Yeah, I think that's probably much better. You get to +1 to Sarkhan, send that and the 3 Goblin tokens, not the Rabblemaster at the Soren, and that's going to be just enough to kill it. Oh. Maybe it's a Stoke the Flames that he's going to try. No, here it comes. There you go.
There's the 5 mana. There is Sarkhan.
He looks angry. Do you think he's angry because all his Dragon Bros died? I feel like he's angry because his Dragon Bros died.
I don't know the plot line that well of the story. He does look...
You're not a true fan.
That's a fair critique.
Now, okay, I actually don't mind this play either. So he's going to make the Goblin here before attacks, and then he's going to Stoke the Flames, the Fleecemane Lion. Now, Daniel's not going to gain any life, and he's probably going to... I was thinking he was just going to attack Daniel for 2, but he might want to try to put the Soren into lethal range from the Sarkhan next turn, and if he attacks it for 2 here, Daniel's kind of going to be forced to make a vampire, unless, of course, he has access to Abzan Charm.
So I think, you know, Kevin's probably saying there, I don't really care too much about this Soren. It's not that significant. I'm going to be able to produce a flyer next turn and rather try to get to in range with this Sarkhan and the other Sarkhan left over in my hand.
Yeah. I feel like it would have been pretty fitting if Sarkhan and a bunch of goblins just destroyed Soren, you know? Just like, get out of my plane. You're not from here.
Get back to Innistrad or wherever it is.
Come on, buddy.
It's not your party. There's a lot of new cards, but it feels like Rabblemaster is still going to be an influence on the format.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, maybe you know, the best Rabblemaster deck is no longer just the Tom Ross mono red deck. And I could be wrong. I actually haven't seen a lot of the top tables because they keep going over to the feature match area. You know, that place where I was only at once today before I died a fiery death. But, you know, Rabblemaster out of this Jeskai deck has been looking pretty sweet. So you have all these cheap removal spells, tempo type cards with Jeskai Charm, just putting their coursers and stuff back on top of their deck. It's been looking good to me.
So Daniel with just a minusing of Soren, making a token, sending it back to Kevin.
Now this may be the fabled don't activate Sarkhan for a turn because your opponent has Abzan Charm. I was talking about this a little bit with some people earlier in the day where, you know, if your opponent just has 3 mana up and you think they have Abzan Charm, you don't have to +1 the Sarkhan, right? Like, yes, you're probably going to now that you have the Rattlemaster in play, but, you know, if you're not under any pressure and your opponent's just sitting on their hands with their mana, it's not that bad of a play, I don't think.
For sure. Although I think in this spot, because Kevin has the second Sarkhan in his hand, he can be pretty liberal about throwing it into the maw.
I definitely think that that's true, too. It looks like he didn't say he was attacking, or he didn't point at Soren or whatever, so it looks like he's probably just sending them all at Daniel and trying to finish him off here pretty quick, but not really want to trade that Rattlemaster for a, oh, okay, I was wrong again.
Yep, just playing to the board here. Post-combat, here is another Sarkhan from Daniel, takes care of the token.
You know, even if Daniel he doesn't have access to it, but, or actually, no, I'm sorry. He has access to Drown Star in his sideboard, but I don't know if he brought it in. And even if he had it at this very moment to kill the Rattlemaster in 3 tokens, he'd still be facing down that Sarkhan that's just going to keep bashing him for 4. But,
yeah, it's tough. Even with a sweeper, it's not clear he's going to be able to win the game, and without a sweeper, he has no shot.
Yeah, and hilariously enough, that if he lets the Goblin Rattlemaster go for 1 more turn, it actually deals more damage than Sarkhan that turn. So, looks like going to finish it off and head to game 3.
Yeah, Jeskai Charm for the last couple points of damage, and
Don't feel bad. They're really hard to say.
Just Sky. I'm getting it.
I think it's pronounced Yeskai.
Sky.
Yeskai. Or maybe Hey Sky. I don't know, man. Is it Abzan or Obzon?
It is Obzon. It's actually more of an O sound.
It feels like there should be an H in there somewhere. Maybe. I don't know.
Evan Irwin told me that it's pronounced, it rhymes with Rob Gone. So Obzon is what he told me.
Sure. No, I mean, I believe him. It's just I am not versed on, the phonetics of Khans of Tarkir because I am not from there.
Correct.
And all I can do is read. I can't. They're not talking to me.
For the time being, we're visitors at least. It looks as though,
I like Soren,
going through the sideboard here, that Daniel removed his Bramazes from the deck. I would assume that was one of his better plays in this kind of matchup. Good against Rebel Master, tough threat to remove from the board. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Bramaz is kind of exactly what you want to be doing in this style of matchup. You get a really sweet blocker for Goblin Rebel Master and all his tokens. And, your opponent can't really kill it outside of Stoke the Flames. And, Stoke the Flames are pretty overloaded as is with Fleece Mainline and Corsair Crewfix already.
So as we get prepared for our Legacy Open, which we'll be running tomorrow as well, and a Modern Premier IQ, of course, we have our newest addition to our Creature Collection Token series.
Yes.
It's the Squirrel Confidant. See? Hanging
man.
up with a panda, scheming up something no good. You can see dice, deck box, play mat, sleeves, everything, and 2 of these tokens for free with every entry to a Legacy Open Series event.
Hold on, I had something for this. Pandamar.
That is stretching it.
Yeah.
Listen, I give a pretty wide breath when it comes to puns. You know what I mean?
I don't know, man. That was just what I had off the top. What do you want for? I don't prepare my material.
No, it's fine. I'm just saying. I listen to a lot of rap. I'm pretty liberal with the way that people want to rhyme words. I try to give. It's more about what you're trying to do rather than it's technically correct. But that was stretching it just a little bit.
All right. Yeah. Pandemonium, if you will.
So anyhow, again, these tokens and all the various related effects have been very popular. That's why Star City Games keeps cranking them out. And if you're interested in getting these tokens, just sign up for a Legacy Open.
Is this a Liz Nugent creation, or is this a Kristen Pleskow creation? Are you?
I'm not a curator of the Star City Games Art Museum, so I can't tell you that off the top of my head.
Dude, I live there, and I don't even know who does it. So that actually is on me. That's on me. But both of those artists, they've
extremely talented.
Yeah, very awesome people too. I've known them both for a couple years now, and they just do great work. All of these squirrel designs, they've just brought so much joy to my wife Callie, and she, every time she sees like the acorn mystic, like that just made her giggle.
Yeah. It is. They are delightful. So again, you're interested in getting the deck boxes, the sleeves, the playmat, all of that's available on StarCityGames.com. And again, the tokens available with any entry to a Legacy Open tournament. Heading back to the match area while we get ready for our third game here between Kevin and Daniel. Kevin was the 7th seed going into the round, and as such, Daniel probably the 8th seed, I would imagine, or close to it, which means that this is a win and in for both of these players.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Final round, you're at 8-1 and having to play. It's a little disheartening because if you lose, you're out. Whereas you see the 3 tables on your left, they got to draw into top 8. But if you win, you actually go into the top 8 with another win under your belt. You get that momentum going. You actually get to be on the play in all your top 8 matches, and you take, you actually just get so much momentum going into it that it's not as bad as people think. Some people get disheartened by it, but a win in the last round feels good.
And the tournaments are so top heavy that sometimes it's worth being a little risky with it to lock up one of those top seeds, especially if you're Kevin's deck right here, playing something very aggressive and tempo-oriented where the die roll matters a lot.
Yeah, you don't want the Sylvan Carrington Corsair Crewfix decks to be on the play. You want to play your Mantis Rider on turn 3 when they have no permanents.
Mm-hmm.
Or no non-lane permanents.
So you see a Fleece Mainline on turn 2 from Daniel. That is answered very quickly from a lightning strike by Kevin.
Yeah, it looks like Daniel brought back in his Bramazes if he sided them out, and now he's going to jam one here on turn 3 off of Mana Confluence. I would assume so.
Well, he has the option of casting Corsair Crewfix, so he's determining between the two, but I like a Bramaz here.
Oh, yeah. Dude, let's get frisky.
Yeah, let's get it frisky.
Did you get my cat joke? Really?
Oh.
Come on. No one? All right. Bueller.
It's a tough crowd, man.
Well,
it's late in the evening.
Well, it's a tough crowd because there's just you.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. There might be people laughing, but I can't hear them.
The toughest of crowds. Yours truly.
Yeah.
So third land here from Kevin. It looks like he has a Jeskai Charm in his hand.
If there was ever a person who I would not expect to laugh at my joke, it's Patrick Sullivan. Yep. Put it right on
I wouldn't
top.
mind. I wouldn't mind that on my tombstone. Laughed at no one's jokes. I would take that.
Oh, this is delightful.
So the Jeskai Charm giving Kevin a temporary reprieve here.
Yeah, it might be time to play Corsair here just to try to hit some land drops. But personally, I'm of the opinion that if he just had Jeskai Charm, it's probably correct to just go ahead and jam that Brimaz once again, even if you don't have a land drop, because he's afraid of it, and his deck doesn't have that many answers to it outside of just Stoke the Flames. So.
And if you get a Stoke and a Jeskai Charm for your troubles here, it's not like you're upset.
Yeah, you know, you got a little, not time walked. I mean, basically time walked because you missed your land drop. So I guess that is pretty bad. But now he's got a fetch land here to go with his Corsair. He gets to gain a life and, you know, filter the top card of his deck if he wants to. Or he gets to play land off the top for free if he wants to as well.
So we'll see Daniel with some options here. I suspect he's just going to want to cast the Corsair first, or taking a different road here, and he's going to Despise.
Yeah, well, awkwardly enough, the land that he drew for his turn was a Windswept Heath, so he could not cast the Despise and the Corsair if he played the Corsair first, unless he hit an untapped Black Source off of it. So, I mean, this is actually pretty tough because he has two answers in his hand right now to Sarkhan, but Sarkhan is going to be able to deal him 4 damage next turn. But I think you just play it safe, take the Narset since you can't really deal with that, and you play your Windswept Teeth, play your Corsair, and just take your Nugs for 4, untap, and you kill it with a Downfall or an Abzan Charm.
I'm with you. Daniel's life total is high enough here where it feels like he can afford to take his lumps. I mean, that Narset
Gambo!
that Narset to me feels like a really threatening card.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I misread Daniel's hand and the Downfall is actually a Drown in Sorrow, but I don't know. I saw a BB spell, and it's not Bile Blight, so.
We'll see. I mean,
Kevin's not playing a ton of lands. You know, he has 24. You know, Daniel doesn't know that, but he also knows that a deck like Kevin's can't really afford to get flooded ever. So, you know, he might draw a land, but it also might come into play tap. So he might have like another turn after that, right? He can also start drawing some cards with his Abzan Charm, you know, if he wants to, or he has a lot of options. So.
But with Hero's Downfall at the ready for the Planeswalker, this feels like a big risk.
You know, I agree, but
because an unchecked Narset is no joke.
I mean, maybe it's a joke. I haven't actually seen one in play yet, but it's probably not. I'll give you that.
All right, and then there's the Corsair post-combat.
Maybe he just doesn't know. I mean, this is actually, maybe it's a problem with some of the new cards. Like, maybe he actually doesn't know Jeskai has hexproof.
Yeah, I mean, well, we may find out in a turn or two.
Yeah, but Kevin here just looking for that land to get that Narset into play. His hand, not so bad. He's got a Lightning Strike, and it looked like he drew a Jeskai Charm for his draw, but I'm not positive. Yep, there it is. He might want to put that Corsair on top, but I mean, Dr. Seijun Rhinoceros could make an appearance this turn, and I know it's not great to put that guy back on top, but he's going to hit you for a bunch if you don't.
This feels like one of the games where Jeskai Charm kind of has no good modes, which is really hard to do.
I mean, putting Corsair on top here is fine, right? Like, you know, you stun your opponent's growth for at least one turn. He doesn't have a lane on top, so he's not going to be able to filter through that. And one of the cool things you can do against Corsair Crewfix is move to their draw step. You get to, they draw their card, you reveal the top card. If it's a land card and you don't want them to hit that land drop, you can kill their Corsair then, and then they don't get to move to their main phase yet and play that land. So it's a really subtle play that for those of you at home, if you haven't, if you play a lot against Corsair Crewfix, it's a neat little trick you can do to really get your opponent sometimes.
Get some more information here. Kevin's going to take this opportunity at the end of the turn there to Charm on top, and now he draws up.
I want him to draw a land so bad. I just want to see Narset in play. I haven't seen it yet, and I'm very, very curious to see what it looks like.
Especially Daniel appears no answer in hand, simply untaps and replays the Corsair.
Yeah, Kevin here just needing that land real bad. His hand looks like it's just full of burn spells.
So here is a Banishing Light. And unlike the Siege Rhino, this is much safer to use a Banishing Light on.
Yeah, I'm okay with that play. That's not one that gets you blown out very hard, but you know, the game one utter end on the Banishing Light for the Siege Rhino rebuy, that was gross.
Pretty
rough. You don't want that one to happen again. You want to get your Banishing Lights in when you can, when they're not so devastating.
So Daniel here reorganizing his mana, perhaps thinking about Abzan charming himself here to draw some cards.
He's probably thinking he's going to try to downfall that Narset, and that's not going to work.
And here is the debut of Narset.
Yep. All right, well, it looks like we're going to draw 2 cards off of this Abzan Charm, try to find something sweet. Maybe he boarded Drown and Sorrow to deal with Realm Master, you know? Maybe that's what he's looking for, but it looks like he's got a Courser and a bunch of lands. Cool thing about Narset, though, she does have First Strike. She pairs really well with things like Lightning Strike and Stoke the Flames to take care of giant monsters like Pelucranos. First Strike plus the damage on the Courser can kill it. But if Daniel has another Abzan Charm, he can put like 2 counters on his Courser, so things can get out of hand.
All right, here we go. Spin the wheel. You know it's a good card to hit off of Narset? Steam Augury.
That's true. I was actually going to say the Raid Fork. It's like the double fork if you have Raid.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Spin the wheel, Raggedy Man.
This is exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait. All right. If he just bricks, I'm going to be so sad. If it's just like 3 lands and a Mantis Rider.
Doesn't look that way.
Oh.
It looks like he has found a Dig Through Time.
A Dig Through Time is sweet.
2.
Oh,
my
man.
goodness.
And a Mantis Rider. So the Mantis Rider, he can't cast that, but this is just a billion damage.
So I think this is possibly game this turn. All right, well, we'll start with a free,
free Dig Through Time, don't even have to delve.
Ancestral Memories, I think this card was originally.
Sure, I don't remember.
Mirage Revisions.
Okay.
Look it up. Know your history.
Yes, sir. No, I mean, if he doesn't have lethal this turn, putting the Courser back on top of the deck is actually pretty good, but doesn't really lock Daniel out of the game like it normally would because he has access to that Windswept Teeth. But Kevin does have a couple of sweet spells in hand already, I believe, with looks like a Lightning Strike and something that I can't quite see. But he definitely wants to make sure his Narset sticks around forever. So it's possible he just wants to go ahead and charm the Courser, but he could deal 4 to Daniel, or he can charm the Courser before it blocks, and that allows him to deal the 3 damage, right? So that's not such a bad play either.
Yeah. So it looks like Daniel is saying
no blocks.
No blocks.
Man, so Daniel goes pretty hard in the paint, man.
Yeah. There's an 8-ball.
Yeah.
Knocking Daniel down to 5, and I believe
knocking him right into the corner pocket, and looks like double burn spell's gonna take care of it here. Yep, there's a Magma Jet and Lightning Strike, and that's gonna put Kevin into the top 8. Congratulations to Helm. That was a well-fought game. Perhaps a lapse in judgment by Daniel by not taking the Narset when he could with the Thoughtseize. He had 2 answers in his hand for the Sarkhan most of the game, and he was just a little afraid of it, I believe, because it was going to maybe kill his Courser. And Sarkhan's just a powerful Magic card, but clearly Narset in play.